And now it's going up. Hey, everybody, welcome to the Sustainiacs. I'm always a Sustainiac. This guy is too, but now he's a Sustainiac on the Sustainiacs. So now it's official, right? And his name is Tony Perrotta. I said that correct once. I think I've got it again. And he is a partner in sustainability and regenerative economy at PA Consultants. Hey, Tony, thanks for coming on, my friend.
No, thank you for having me, Michael. I'm looking forward to it. This is exciting.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's very, very cool. So let's dig in. Who is PA Consulting? I mean, I hear sustainability and regenerative economy, right? And I bet I can guess what that is because I've been in this game for a number of years. But there's a lot of people who understand them on the very surface, right? And explain PA Consulting. What are you guys up to?
Absolutely. So we're a consulting company, as you mentioned, with an 80-year legacy of bringing ingenuity to life. Yes, of course, we do the critical strategy work that all businesses need to grow. But what truly sets us apart is we also get grease in our hands. We will take those ideas and strategies and turn them into reality. So we help clients, if you will, go from paper and pixels to products and services. What does that look like? We like to say our first client was Winston Churchill at the turn of the Second World War, helping with personnel and resource allocation. Since then, we've done some pretty amazing things like invented the world's first disposable pregnancy test. We've designed surgical robotics. We've even helped harness the power of seaweed for packaging with the team at Not PLA, who, for your knowledge, very recently won an Earthshot Prize.
Oh, wow.
We're the only consulting firm that has design, engineering, and science all housed in studios and tech centers around the world. And our superpower is tackling very complex systems-based problems. The beauty of that for the work I do is sustainability is nothing if not a very complex systems-based problem.
Yeah, no doubt about it. It is, and we'll dig into that quite a bit. That's very interesting. That's cool, and I love that you make that distinction and you're proud of it because I've been in businesses and I've for 36 years in logistics, et cetera, and I've helped spin off businesses and start businesses, et cetera. And I have to tell you that I have had okay and I've had horrible experiences with consultants, and I think it's the ones that come in and say, well, you should be doing this, 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 and this. And but, okay, great. But how do you get that done? Or do you have, support mechanisms for that and back up those ideas rather than just, hey, we'll give you some ideas and then move on to the next gig. They're kind of hunters and not huggers. And you guys sound like you're huggers and nurturing the actual, implementation and development of what you see collaboratively as the solution, right?
And super happy that you even raised that notion. What's interesting is I share a very similar experience set with consultants.
Yeah.
The joke inside my firm is I'm sort of the consultant skeptic. I can spend a minute or two, if you will, talking about why I joined PA.
Absolutely. Please do. Yeah. We want to get into your background, et cetera.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So first I can start. Yes, I work on, as you made known, sustainability and what I refer to as the regenerative economy. In my mind, what that means is, yes, we help clients, organizations, and governments of all kinds get to net zero. But more importantly, we help them get beyond net zero to that regenerative impact. How might your participation in the global economy bring a regenerative component or a beneficial impact? And that's the work that really excites me. What's interesting is prior to joining PA, I worked at a company called Plastic Bank. Super unique business model, very disruptive. At its most basic essence, we invited poor communities around the world to use plastic garbage as a currency for food, Wi-Fi, medical attention, and school tuition. Um, Amazing mission-driven work, very purposeful, as you can imagine. It's not
Mm.
often we as individuals get to say, I'm helping tackle the plastic pollution challenge and keeping that material out of the oceans and helping provide an income source for those that are in impoverished communities. Um, we were doing work in some of the toughest economies around the world. So Haiti, Brazil, Egypt, Indonesia, and the Philippines as examples. Um, and as amazing and mission driven as that work was, I did have a realization that we weren't necessarily tackling the plastic problem at its source. Yes, we were educating and innovating. Yes, we were doing those amazing work with impoverished communities and keeping material from flowing into the ocean. But the vast amount of additional plastics being created every year were just so exponential. It felt as though we were battling a tidal wave.
Well,
Um,
you're in a sense you're bailing out a a boat with a 2 foot hole in it with a spoon.
that is, in essence, at times what it felt like.
Yeah, I mean
Obviously,
it's great work, but you've got to shut that valve off or at least slow it at some point, right?
that was exactly it. The pitch was, look, we are lifting and bringing a social impact here, but we have to turn that tap off so we can be even more effective.
Right, right.
At around the same time, a very close colleague of mine approached me and said, look, I've been watching what you've been doing at Plastic Bank. I know you've been in the world of sustainability for close to a decade. I think you need to look at this company called PA Consulting. Like you, I have not had the best experience in my professional career, typically working with consultants. It often feels like they get paid by the slide or the word. They drop a beautiful report on your desk and all the things you're doing wrong, and off they
Yeah,
go.
yeah.
This close friend of mine had said PA does things differently. They are really rolling their sleeves up. They are working in material science. They are working on new technologies. This might be a place for you to apply all you know, but in a way that might help you turn that tap off. Um,
Mm,
Here we are a number of years later. That hypothesis is proving true. The work that I do day in and day out very specifically revolves around how can we either invent new technologies or enhance existing technologies that are proper, scalable, and functional alternatives to plastics and some other material choices.
gotcha, gotcha. So before we dig, there's so much there's so much there that I want to talk to you about. But so how did you get into plastic banks? I mean, where did that motivation come from for you to get into sustainability in the first place to wind up at Plastic Bank? I mean, I get, and you beautifully articulated how you moved on it and why you did, because I followed Plastic Bank and I love what they do and have done. Um, but you're right; it's one part, it's one solution in many that have to happen, right?
Yep,
In order
absolutely.
to get this, and I get that moving on to try and do that and help that those other parts. Why Plastic Bank in the first place? What got you motivated? You wake up one day and say, you know what, I, I need to help. I mean, seriously, sometimes that's what it is.
It was similar to that. So, what I can share with you, I'm first generation American, as many of us here in the States are. I'm the child of immigrants who moved here from Europe. As a result of that culture, sustainability was sort of embedded as just our normal day to day cadence of life. At its
Yeah,
heart, at its truest heart, sustainability is resource allocation and proper stewardship of assets of all
right,
kinds.
right.
um, Growing up as the son of an immigrant, assets and being a proper steward of those assets is incredibly important. So very early on, without having the label or the moniker of sustainability, there was a key urgency built in me around just asset stewardship and being a proper protector and guardian of those resources. Um, Early on in my career, I was blessed with mentors and coaches, formally and informally, who gave me two bits of really key information and guidance. One, in your personal and professional life, always seek to add value beyond yourself. If you do that, value will flow back in kind. And two, find problems and work that you want to solve that are meaningful for you at a personal level and larger than where you think you are today. So you have room to evolve as a human being as a member of the global community. Um, After reflecting on that, I knew that sustainability and specifically the notion of pollution, especially around plastics, was going to be a key mission for myself to get involved. My background is a little unique from most folks in sustainability. I'm not an engineer by trade or a consultant, as we've discussed. My background is marketing, psychology, business development, revenue mapping, very traditional commercial style activities.
Yeah.
Um, Prior to, and we can get to how I joined Plastic Bank. Prior to joining them, I had helped a number of founders raise a round of funding in and around the world of sustainability. So I had been really deeply embedded in that notion, understanding the challenges, the problems, the scalability, and what the market was looking for. Through one of those projects, in helping a founder raise a round of funding, I came across Plastic Bank in part of my research. I had the good fortune to have some time with David Katz, their CEO and founder. We sat down over the course of a number of weeks and months, learning about the business and the work they were doing. At the end of my project, I wrote a handwritten note to David and basically said, look, if you are ever in the need for commercial assistance or my talents can bring added value to you and your mission, please let me know. And that was the culmination of the beginning of that journey.
Awesome.
Um, Amazing time spent with that team. They're still very much active and successful, continuing to grow. They're doing good work, and I expect their need to continue to grow.
That's fantastic. I love it. That's a great story. That's a great story, and it's interesting to me because I did a show called the Heidelberg Inspiration, and it was really a company called Wally Grow, but the woman there, the executive there, brought back her experiences from living in Heidelberg, Germany, and how the two different cultures are different, and said, "Listen, I can help to install this or instill this type of mentality here in the United States." And okay, so you're the son of immigrants, so you were brought up with that mentality. What is your view? Why is it that the states are so far behind in this? Is it just the land of access that has done it, or
Well, I think oftentimes for us as Americans, we want to bring a better future life for our children than we had, right? So
yes, of course, yeah,
there are very few parents who I know who would say, "No, I want my child to have a harder life than I had," right? Um,
yeah,
but I think what comes with that is this delicate balancing act of how far do I go in creating a world of convenience. I still want my child to face adversity and realize they have the ability to either get help in overcoming it or find that
mm,
help within themselves to overcome it.
yes,
I think for whatever reason, and this could be a lively debate on the state of immigration here in the US, um, at its base heart, immigrants are leaving their homelands for the prospect of a better opportunity. What they are looking for is how might my skills, resources, and effort be valuable in another place. I think that speaks to resilience. I think that speaks to a level of diligence and hard work um, that just sets immigrants and the children of immigrants slightly apart from those who have a much longer legacy here in the States or in another chosen part of the world. Um,
yeah,
what was interesting is I heard a CEO speak about a year ago, and he made a super provocative comment. And his comment was, "You bring me any business where they are making very critical use of first, second, and third generation Americans, and I will tell you, I am 90% of the way investing already." I have seen that prove true in my own life. Um, I think it's a product of your surroundings, modeling, and a hunger and a desire.
yeah. That's interesting. That's a great perspective and great answer. Thank you for that. Let's get back to the to PA consulting and what you're
Yeah.
talking about there, and so I'm interested in how you guys work because you talk about how PA consultant has uh, invented certain things, right? Like a disposable pregnancy test, et cetera, and different things that you talked about. And your first client or whatever it was Winston Churchill, I think he said, or not, maybe not your first client, but you spoke to that as well. So how does that work? I mean, are people coming to you and saying, "Hey, I've got this idea. Can you help me incubate this?" Because it sounds like that's what you are. Is like in some sort or form, kind of incubator for ideas and companies on the growth, and less so. as, hey, bring it in, come in here and let's do a turnaround. Is that kind of, is that
Yeah,
accurate
so
or?
I would characterize it in two ways. First, at the firm level, uh, of course, we will do that very critical growth strategy or transformation work. That goes without saying. As a company, you need that work to be able to grow. What will separate us, though, is our teams run towards the very hairy, complex, difficult challenges, and we thrive on that. We've got significant expertise in design, engineering, and applied science. We have something on the order of 3,000 scientists, technicians, engineers on staff, all who love to have their head in the machine, figuring out how things work, how to optimize, how to create and invent new things. Um, Typically, clients will come to us with their toughest challenges that they have either realized they can't solve with internal resources, or if they do, it will take too long, or they don't have the capability to be able to do so. And that's where we thrive. The work we do touches multiple industries. So, yes, consumer packaged goods, that's a place where I spend a lot of my time alongside consumer health and life sciences. But equally, we do a lot of work with financial services, energy and utilities, and a lot of government work, especially in Europe, around health, safety, vaccination growth, resiliency, etc. My work day in and day out revolves around sustainability, as we've said. A key aspect of that is I co-lead a proposition that we call dry molded fiber, invented by another company called Pullpack. Um, in essence, it's a way and a technology to use paper or plant-based fiber to replace single-use plastics and other single-use materials of many types.
Mm, that's very cool. So is that like your main focus right now, is working with that company?
So today, the vast bulk of my time is spent on helping enhance that pull pack dry molded technology so it is fit for use by today's brands and organizations.
And what was the name of that? What's the name of that company again?
Absolutely. It's Pullpack, Pulpac. They are based in Gothenburg, Sweden. They're the owners and inventors of that dry molded fiber technology. PA's role is to take that amazing tech and modify and enhance it for the use of the world's largest brands. So as you can imagine, anyone who is making all of the items in your kitchen and or bathroom are looking to replace some challenging materials. We think fiber in particular is a massive opportunity.
Yeah, I would think so, right? I mean, there's people who have taken that concept into other products as well. Natural fiber weldings. I don't know if you've heard of
Yep.
them in the Midwest here. Luke Haverhalls and the people there. Same concept, right? And he was a chemist, a PhD chemist, and looking towards sustainability. And struggling with the issues of entropy and how to regenerate plastics, right, and polymers, and decided, well, wait a minute, nature's like the ultimate circular economy, right, and has solved this entropy problem
Hmm.
because it will create this mass chaos and then break it all back down and then recreate it, right? So it's this regenerative type of thing, like you've said in the past. So it's called Pulpac, Pulpac.
Yes, and to share with
Got it.
your audience, we recently had a market trial with Diageo, where we went from literally a cold start to having built and produced and put in the hands of consumers, in essence, a dry molded paper bottle for use in the adult alcohol industry. So that press release is live now. That market trial happened a couple of weeks ago. Um, what you will notice if you go and take a look at the Bailey's mini market trial we did is the output of that paper bottle is an extremely high premium, luxurious feel, look, and experience. The intention there being sustainability need not be a landscape of trade off. You can provide a more sustainable product format and still delight and surprise and have an amazing experience for your customers and consumers.
And
Um,
that's a huge issue, right? To just jump in that rabbit hole for
yeah,
for a minute. I mean, that's the issue for recycling right now, right? And it's particularly in CPG is the packaging is the advertising, right? And I've heard sustainability officers for major consumer brands stand on the stage at a recycling conference or section of a plastics conference and say, look, we understand that if all of our packaging was the same and homogenous, that we could recycle the hell out of everything, but we're not going to do that. Right. And that's kind of like very dismissive, but it's a fact in the economy that we've grown up is you've got to be able to differentiate yourself in order for this to work. And sustainability and what you're trying to do cannot work unless it is a viable business model, right? And so you've got to figure that out. Is that polypack what you're talking about there? And you sent me pictures, I believe. I've seen the pictures of the Bailey's bottles that you're talking about, and they are fantastic. Is is that now recyclable or regenerative, or does it break down? What's the I get the use of the different types of natural fibers. That makes sense. But
yep,
what are the additional benefits to that?
absolutely.
Can you
So
speak to that a bit?
I can start with the tech first, and then we can very specifically talk about our work on a paper bottle,
Yeah,
because it
fantastic.
does raise a number of questions, right? We're not the first to do this. We do think ours is very different for some very critical, unique
Well,
reasons.
and there's people out there that half understand these different technologies, and people who don't understand them whatsoever. People don't
Exactly.
understand that paper or pulp juice box has has what it has aluminum and then polymers lining it, right? They don't understand that, right? You can't just chop it up and throw it in the garden. It doesn't work that way.
Yep.
And there's many PFAs, right? The forever chemicals, which are going to be massive issues in court over the next number of years as people discover more and more of the impacts that are applied to fiber packaging, et cetera, so that they perform and the quality is there for you to be able to use them. So, yeah, speak to that technology a bit and let's educate and evangelize what you guys are up to.
Absolutely. So, dry molded fiber, as the name suggests, is a relatively dry process. What that means is the other fiber alternatives in the marketplace are, go figure, typically called wet molded fiber. In essence, you're mixing a paper or fiber
It
based.
must have been your marketing side that came up with the dry, right?
Exactly, right? A huge leap. I hope we didn't pay an agency too much for that. Um, so in a wet process, you take this fiber input material, you inundate it with water, and it creates this sort of slurry, if you will, that you then pour into a mold. You then heat that mold, so you dry that water off, and you're left with the shape of what you're hoping to produce. That has unique and amazing applications for a number of industries.
Don't they call that paper mache?
I think when you and I were in grade school, we may have done a paper mache project or two. It is
Yeah,
a very similar process to that.
I got you.
Um, in comparison to what we have seen in Pullpack, a dry molded fiber process, you're not adding water into the process. As a result of that, your need for energy is way reduced because you're then not drying out all the water that was never placed in the process.
Because you don't need the heat, so your water consumption that's better maintained. That's the
Correct.
sustainable plus right there. But then the energy needed to heat and remove extract the water. You got you. Yeah,
So
beautiful.
the two key benefits that are driven from this process are higher sustainability profile because it's less water and less energy, but equally important, it's a lower cycle time, which means a lower cost per product produced. So we feel in the world of alternative materials, a dry molded fiber process has one of the best opportunities to be the speed, scale, cost that these massive industries really need to mobilize and create value.
I'm picturing like an old school, like body part steel stamping plant that's just pow and pumping out these things. Am I envisioning something correctly or no?
You are eerily spot on.
I got you.
The folks at Polpack would say their technology is the culmination and assembly of a few things. One, um, press plate steel manufacturing from the automotive industry, right, where you have very strong presses that come in and press these parts. Two, material science, and three, a real deep understanding of the world of fiber. So when you mix those three together, they've come up with this really unique technology. To your well-made point, the process itself is basically that input fiber-based material. It looks like cotton if you were to stretch it out, placed in a press under a bit of heat and a lot of pressure, begins to create really unique chemical bonds within the hydrogen molecules. And you end up with this pull pack effect, and it really begins to look, feel, and function like a plastic.
Really? So what is is it, what fibers can you use? Can you get into that, or are you giving away
No,
the
but
secret sauce?
we can certainly talk about it. So
So I mean,
today,
are you growing and taking like hemp fibers and bamboo fibers and that type of stuff through renewable sources like sustainable farming, or and can you use like already like recycled pulp board and that type of thing?
so all amazing horizons for us. Today, for market trials, we will use virgin tree based fiber for very specific food safety reasons, right? It's a known
Oh yeah, yeah,
material.
gotcha.
This goes through the
FDA
supply
is going to
chain.
get involved with this stuff. Yeah. Mhm.
A- And there is a readily accessible marketplace for this input material. This is not an exotic supply where all of a sudden outside the lab, I can't do anything with. So today we are using virgin tree based material. We have certainly already done massive work around recycled content, especially when food grade is not required. We can certainly use recycled content. And then what's even more exciting is we already have research underway and data in hand that shows non tree based fiber, either agricultural waste or non agricultural food sources, are absolutely an appropriate input and may actually impart unique properties that we can't get out of a tree based fiber.
Are
Um,
we talking about like corn husks and stuff like that? That are the
we,
waste biomass from farms,
We
etc.
could even go one step more creative. Imagine a day when your tomato punnet is made from the cast off leaves of the tomato plant.
Yeah.
That's not science fiction. We're doing that exact work in our lab. There are whole hosts of agricultural waste product that we think is a valuable input. Agave leaves from the production of tequila. There is a world of worlds in the
So you could have tequila in tequila leaf bottles.
Again, stay tuned. What I can
Right?
share with you on the bottle, you asked what makes PA so unique and different, and are you incubating ideas? So with this pull pack technology, we will typically work with clients in one of two ways. The first is if you make an existing component or package or part today, and you would like to consider fiber as an alternative, we can work with you the same way any consultant works with you.
That's
We can
fantastic.
engage on a very custom project based approach and figure out your specific needs.
Hmm.
The second way we go to market is a little unique, and in the world of consulting, extraordinarily unique. We've come up with this notion that there are some problems too large for a single brand to tackle on their own to create meaningful impact.
Gotcha.
The two that we've identified this year are replacing single use bottles of multiple material types plastic, glass, aluminum, etc. and replacing what are typically PVC based tablet or capsule blister packs.
And
Yes. So the two ways we go to market, I'll be super brief on that. One, any brand, government, or organization who wants to replace an existing part made of something with fiber, we can work with you on a custom basis and we will figure it out.
hmm.
The second way is we realize that some of these challenges are so complex and large. It's not like a single brand is going to be able to solve them on their own. So what we've done is we've created a system where we go to the full marketplace and invite multiple industries and players together, all in service of a singular mission.
Gotcha. So
Two, to
like the
your point,
American Beverage Association would be somebody, right? Like the AB.
exactly. So the two that we've identified are how might we replace single-use bottles, glass, plastic, aluminum, etc., with a fiber alternative, and then to your point, how might we replace what are typically PVC-based tablet and blister packs? Um, On the bottle collective, we acknowledge we're not the first to come up with the notion of a collective. Ours is unique for a few reasons. One, you've got Polpak as the technology owner, really driving consistent knowledge of this unique technology. Two, you've got PA with an 80-year legacy of dealing with very complex challenges, sitting as the true project manager and driving toward a completed project.
Mm.
Three, we've invited multiple clients in industries. So today we have Diageo, Haleon, Sanofi, and Logoplast, and a laundry care client. They were all bringing their insights to bear. They're all bringing their unique perspectives on the challenges and how we might overcome them. And then finally, Logoplast is a member of the supplier base. So not only are we talking front end design, research, and innovation, but we're including the folks who will make these products and dispose of these products early on in the process.
Mm. Gotcha.
Um, Hence, we've been so successful. We've gone from a cold start to products in the hands of consumers in under 2 years,
Wow.
which we're very proud of. You had also asked a number of key questions around help me understand the bottle. What bin do you throw it in? Is it actually
Yes.
recyclable?
Yeah. Please, let's get into that. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
The end life of it, because that's a huge part in CPG. You're CPG, right? So EPR is a huge issue that is
Absolutely.
boiling, right?
Absolutely. So we can use our bottle as an example for live, sort of, if you will, activities. The current bottle that we launched does make use of a plastic liner today.
Hmm.
That plastic liner does a few things. It allows us to be food safe. It allows us to create a barrier that holds that chemistry and keeps it away from the fiber. So when it does get recycled, the fiber is very high value for a repulping mill.
Yeah. You got to
Um,
have it there for the functionality. There's things there that, yeah, got you.
but beyond that, our goal, and we are working very steadily in this direction, is we acknowledge we want a full move away from plastics where it's possible and appropriate. We think there is a universe of materials that will be on the horizon very soon, things
Sure.
like alginates and seaweeds. The beauty of our process and approach is we've created a process that's future fit. When those new lining technologies become available, we could easily incorporate it into our existing design, and you can go full plastic free.
Yeah.
Um, Regardless, our bottle today, as designed, is curbside paper stream recyclable. We will shoot for minimum 90% fiber, 10% all other material. In reality, we are really shooting for 95.5. At
Yeah, is there
95%.
so let's break that down for just a brief moment
Yep,
because I'm in plastics recycling, right? And so there's a and when you're using or sending a recycled polymer to a manufacturer, there are tolerance levels for contamination. And that's what you're referring to in your product, right? Is that there to in order to be full paper recyclable, the contamination part has to be below a certain percentage of the mass, right? And
correct.
that's what you're saying. The liner stays below that, so it still can go through, right?
Yes. So
Okay,
our
gotcha.
early guidance is if you can stay below 10% on all other, so liner, cap, closure, if you use a separate label, etc.
Mm-hmm.
We have given ourselves a clear, more strict guidance of if we can hit 95.5, then all of a sudden that unlocks most of the world that has recycling infrastructure in place. Um,
Gotcha.
and in places where they don't have recycling infrastructure, at the end of life, the true end of life, the viewpoint is a fiber based bottle will have much less damaging impact in the environment than a pure plastic bottle that does not make use of recycled content and is not being collected and then repurposed.
Mm. Yeah, no, it certainly does. So it'll be interesting to see what you can just, we talked about the juice, juice boxes, and they have the PET or I think it may be polypropylene or PET with the aluminum in it, right? And you can take that and recycle that and get polyal out of it. Basically, it's called polyal, and it's a tremendous material. Polyal is amazing material. It'll be interesting to see what type of materials are done through the recycling of what you guys are doing now. here's something that I'm interested in. Maybe there could be somebody else out there that is interested in this. I'm very inquisitive, but so part of the problem with plastics is we spoke about is, you know, the printing on them, the colorization of them and all that, right? So you can't mix clear with red because, you know, then you can't, you know, mixed plastics are much less valuable as recycled material than single ricks or you know, polymer codes of plastics, et cetera. And even those have limitations because they've gone through a compounder and have certain additives to perform the way that particular packaging or product needs to perform. You can't just take PET from this and then make it into a bottle because it's got other compounds in it. There's PTEG and so on and so forth that you can't just mix these. When you're talking about your fiber based stuff, that printing on there and stuff, does a sortation or sort of entropy law come into play there and create difficulties, or what does that look like?
We will absolutely and have already done a lot of this work already,
Yeah,
include material recovery facilities and waste management as part of this process.
yeah.
Um, the, the goal is, and our technology allows for in mold labeling without the use of an adhesive or external labeling as
Oh,
one
nice.
option. So there is a world where you could actually have the wrap label on your bottle be fully paper based and be a part of the mold process system where you're not using any glue or adhesives and it's still recognized as paper. We are firmly of the belief that recycling will continue to be exceedingly critical and important, and there's massive
Mm.
opportunity ahead of us. So you a wherever infrastructure exists, leaning into better mechanical recycling practices is certainly an option. Yes, that would be leveraged by vision technology that you were alluding to, AI, robotics. Waste management here in the US is doing an amazing job of leaning into AI. Republic Services is leveraging robotics. There's some amazing growth there. And I think a number of the capital markets are realizing hey, the business of waste is actually the business of resources. Today's landfills may very well be tomorrow's urban gold mines.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, for sure they are. Yeah, I totally believe that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then the second leg, which may speak to the issue you raised related to added components or composition, advanced recycling is coming on the scene in a big way. You've got folks like Eastman Kodak and PureCycle here in the US. They're going one step beyond mechanical recycling and using advanced recycling, if you will, either chemical breakdown or dissolving with chemicals or using heat and the whole waste energy
Yeah, yeah.
industry.
Pure Cycle is kind of a polymer washing, is what it kind of is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, very cool. I've had Tamsin on the show. I love what Pure Cycle is doing there.
And then finally, it truly is a portfolio approach because even with amazing recycling, it's not as though we're at 100% PET collection and recycling today, even in the US.
No,
Um, so, what we're most excited about is a move into these novel and alternative materials as well that include things like, yes, pulp, but seaweed, alginates, microorganisms.
yes,
There is a very unique and burgeoning world of technology that awaits us on the horizon.
yeah, absolutely. I contend the same thing. Is if you're, you know, just regardless of your motivation, the blue ocean of opportunity in sustainability and recycling is enormous,
Yep.
and the ability to utilize that for not only economics, you know, profiteering, capitalism. It goes far beyond that. The ability to include and uplift uh, underserved communities, let's call it, is amazing. The ability to kind of restart a whole new industry that is going to take over um, is unbelievable, and I applaud your efforts. I did want to ask this on the fibers that you guys are using because you talked about plant based fibers, et cetera. Is there a way, or are you working at or looking at solving some of the issues with the textile and fashion industry to incorporate those type of fibers into or is that just you can't do it? It would be like just straight cotton shirts, but if you've got polyester and that, does that limit their ability to use in what you guys are doing?
We've not directly explored the use of apparel or textiles as an incorporation. I will tell you, you raised cotton. We do think cotton in particular will be a very unique and interesting material for us to test with.
Yeah.
The minute you begin to look at a polyester or any polyolefin, um, in essence, what you're doing is you're introducing plastic back into the process.
Yeah,
So,
that's. I mean, any type of poly blend, even with even with cotton, is going to limit that completely, right? Just reduces it.
interestingly, I will tell you, the world of apparel recycling, it seems to be also growing and expanding. A very close dear friend of mine is actually looking at an investment opportunity. He's raising around now. He's come up with a textile to textile recycling process where there's no pre-treatment for the garments required. It can handle buttons and zippers. Um, Waste apparel input goes in and fiber comes out the other end. I think that is a massive opportunity that the fashion world has been struggling with. The individuals who crack that code will be very well compensated for a
I'd
whole
love
host of
to.
reasons.
I'd love to be introduced to your friend. I
Yeah,
have somebody who would be very interested in talking with him,
brilliant.
or her, whoever. I don't want to assume, but yeah, that's another one that is very very important.
Well, and
So
one final point on that, you raise an interesting concept. In the world of food and beverage, there's sort of a battle raging for recycled content of all kinds, right? As a food and beverage manufacturer, the last thing you want to see is your PET bottle end up in a T-shirt, because then you can't use it to create another bottle, and that now it's locked in a T-shirt. The apparel folks sit there and say recycled content is a value add to our consumers. We're taking materials that are available and turning it into a value add good. So it's an interesting debate to see those two schools of thought fight it out a bit.
fast fashion or apparel industry is a difficult one, but yeah, I'd love to introduce the people because reverse logistics, et cetera. And as we all know, the apparel or fashion industry is one of the biggest polluters in the planet, not because they're all evil. It just is. Um,
Well,
so do you work on aside from developing and helping develop the product, right? And we're talking about this pulp pack. So on the marketing side, are you guys involved heavily in the marketing side of that to help try and create those markets and grow those markets as well? For
well, we are involved on the commercial side, so we can help Polpack or any other client with, hey, here's our business case, here's our unique value to the marketplace. How might we bring this to life for investors, customers, consumers, and stakeholders? We do a lot of consumer insight work, so we can help brands understand how consumers think and act with their specific brand. What we don't help on yet is specifically marketing tactics. Hey,
Gotcha.
help me understand how to optimize my media spend. That's an area that we as PA don't necessarily have a significant or unique expertise area in.
Gotcha. Because it occurs to me that with this, people are going to have to be taught that this new packaging is of high quality, right? And that's really what marketing is teaching people, hey, you want this.
We will definitely include our consumer insight expertise and get marketing involved on what are the claims we should be making on a package. Are these clear claims? Are they legal? Are they helpful? Are they value add? What do consumers want to see? And does this make sense? That will most certainly be a part of this journey.
Yeah, it certainly will because there's certain feel touch of packaging that people have been taught this means quality and this doesn't mean quality, and that has to be overcome. And
Yep.
marketing has such a key role in what you're trying to do, and everybody in sustainability and et cetera needs to overcome a lot of what we've been conditioned to believe is quality, right?
And it would be foolish of us to think we're dealing with a clean slate. We have the beauty of a lot of innovators in the world of alternative materials ahead of us. The converse of that is they have made press releases and have created an idea or a notion in the mind of the consumers and the media. We just have to acknowledge that background. We have to be clear on why is this bottle different, why it is not greenwashing or green hushing, and does it really add value or not? So we are keenly aware that answering those questions directly and upfront is vital.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Excellent stuff. So, Tony, where are people going to learn more about this particular initiative and everything PA? And if there's people out there that got ideas or they're trying to incubate, they're trying to grow their ideas, there's a ton of people out there. And that's what it takes is ideas and really entrepreneurs to come forward and really innovate. That's where the big stuff is going to happen. How do they get in touch with you, Tony?
I would offer three ways. One, you can find me easily in LinkedIn, Tony Perrotta, two R's, two T's. Second, paconsulting.com, exactly as it sounds, paconsulting.com, has a wealth of information on the various projects and challenges we're helping solve. And then finally, if you're interested in Pulpac technology specifically, you could easily do a search. Pulpac is Pulpac. They have a wealth of information on their website. We have very similar information as well, talking about their technology. So those are the three easy resources you can get to.
Yeah, excellent stuff. Thank you so much, Tony. Hey, everybody, thanks for downloading and listening to Sustainiacs. We'll see you next time. Peace and love, everybody.